Good morning to you. Mark Sutton with HurricaneTrack here. It is now Tuesday, the 10th day, peak hurricane season day 2024. This is your Francine update. I'm in Noonan, Georgia. Just got up a little while ago en route to Louisiana to set up cameras, to set up the weather station in anticipation of what will likely be Hurricane Francine. It's undergoing some structural changes this morning, getting better organized again around the core. I'll show you all of that. And then the big thing I'm going to focus on are what to expect for the impacts. We really need to focus on that. Toss out all of this trying to guess what category is it going to be. Don't worry about that. You need to be worrying about the impacts that could come from Francine, and we also need to look at the potential track changes that are coming up as well, because we're seeing some indications that this could be going a little bit more east than we even thought last night. Of course, it's always dynamic and ever-changing. So let's get right to it. See what we got. Hurricane Center homepage here. There's Francine, a couple other areas out here. Just forget about that for right now. But this is the most important aspect of what I want to go over, and that would be the information that are in all these little thumbnails right here. These really help to highlight the impacts. And again, yes, it's important to look at the wind. What's the wind going to be? What's the category? But more important than that, in my opinion, is, and I think everybody would agree, the storm surge. What will the storm surge be? Where will it be the highest? While we don't know precisely this far in advance, because it has to do with the angle of approach, the size of the wind field, how strong the hurricane is, and of course that's where you start talking about what the category is and what the wind speeds are. But there are just a lot of factors, and as you can see, the Mississippi coast over to Louisiana is quite complex overall. Very easy to pile up the water in the Mississippi Sound. Louisiana is different because you have little indentations, little coves or bays, or you got Vermilion Bay, for example, and it just, so many factors go into play that it's really difficult to know for sure. So the general thought here overall is anywhere from 2 to 4 feet across Mississippi. Not as worried about the blue areas because that's less life-threatening, but these areas 2 to 4 feet and higher, especially the red, we're talking up to 10 feet, that is where we need to be the most concerned. And we just don't know exactly where this is going to happen, because that up to 10 feet really has everything to do with where the worst of the winds come in, where you get onshore flow that's piling up the water. We don't know where that's going to be exactly yet. And the track, a track that comes right across the west side of Vermilion Bay, as an example, would really pile the water up right in here very efficiently. But a track more to the northeast like this, at this angle, at some point you got to figure the water could get piled up more on the north side of Lake Pontchartrain. So I really need, let me come back on because I want to talk to you. I have this saying that I like to talk to you, not just at you. We really need to watch the track of this, and you need to be paying attention to the storm surge forecast all along the coast. That's the number one thing I need you to do. And you can do that over at the National Hurricane Center homepage. You just go, let me move me over here. You just go back, and you got the homepage at nhc.noaa.gov or hurricanes with an s.gov. You just scroll down a little bit, and this is on your mobile device as well. And you look for that peak surge right there. That's what we were just looking at. And then there is all of that information for you. And this will be changing. Okay, this is not going to be static. So please pay attention to this very closely, especially if we start seeing more evidence that this could start tracking more to the east, putting the greater New Orleans area and Lake Pontchartrain under the threat of a higher surge potential and or wind damage, especially in the New Orleans area. This is not set in stone. We know that, and we need to make sure that we understand that moving forward. The other issue, of course, will be the wind, and this is forecast to reach Category 2. So yes, we could have wind gusting and even some sustained wind over 100 miles per hour. And you know the usual, trees down, power lines down, roof damage, that kind of thing. Definitely problematic. But the other part of this is the rainfall potential. And you folks down here along this coastal area have really had a lot of rain in recent days, you know that. And so, anywhere from 4 to 8, maybe a foot of rain, but that's going to be pushing it. But even 6 to 8 inches of heavier rainfall here, this tropical rain, could prove to be very problematic. And that is why I constantly am reminding you about our partners with Quick Dam, because they can help you with this. You don't have all the time in the world, but you do have time to get instead of flood sandbags, which are very heavy and very difficult to get rid of, you can go to a big box store, Lowe's, Home Depot, and get you some Quick Dams, and you're all set. And I'm serious, trying to help you here, because when you see this kind of rainfall forecast in an area that's already saturated, you need all the help you can get, all the advice you can get on how you can mitigate, lessen the effects of that disaster. And a product like what we have with our partner with Quick Dams can help you with that, because this rainfall here is very much, again, on that saturated soil, and that could be a problem too. So please keep that in mind. So we got the surge, and we have the rainfall, and we have the potential for wind damage, of course. And this will spread inland. The hurricane doesn't stop. The would-be hurricane, all hurricanes don't just stop at the coast. And as you can see, that heavy rainfall threat does move into the interior areas of Louisiana and Mississippi after landfall. So again, going back to this little dashboard that they've got of all these different thumbnails, great information there. And then the other one, local products. I want you to click on this, and this will give you your different weather forecast offices from Corpus, Houston, Brownsville for the Texas area, Jackson, Mississippi for parts of the Mississippi region that are under the gun from this, and then of course Louisiana. And all you got to do is just click on these different things. Let's just do New Orleans, Baton Rouge. You click on that, and again, you get a nice dashboard of even more detailed information. This is the good stuff. It really is. So take advantage of this. It's our tax dollars at work. Use it to your advantage. This will really, really help you. Instead of me spending an hour going over every little detail, I want to point you in the direction of what to look for. So it's right there, that local products at the National Hurricane Center homepage. And there you go. You click on that, and you can find the local information, hurricane local statements, that kind of thing. And that can be very helpful for you. All right, looking at the satellite animation of our storm this morning, I guess we can use blue. Dry air, mainly coming off of Mexico, getting wrapped into this thing, kind of close to the continent there. But that dry air is clearly getting mixed out. The core starting to reorganize, and it's got plenty of time still to be over water before it comes up here, makes that turn towards Louisiana, and it is expected to strengthen, probably reaching Category 2. And again, that's just a number. I know it's important to a lot of people, but the good news is we don't see much. And I want to be careful, because I know I've made some references in the last few days to Michael. That was just the precursor that we need to make sure we don't underestimate this. Right now, I'm not as concerned about a rapid intensification period right up to landfall that could bring it to major hurricane status, because those do obviously pack a bigger punch. Duh. I mean, that goes without saying. A Category 3 hurricane or higher, much bigger problem. Not seeing the risk of that nearly as much, and I can show you that in some of the guidance here in just a minute. But a hurricane is a hurricane. You still have the storm surge, the very heavy rain, and the wind problems that can cause a lot of disruption out there. So just don't write it off and dismiss it. Every one of these is different, right? We don't know what surprises Francine might be bringing our way, but it is starting to get better organized, and the models are all in agreement that this will strengthen somewhere along this path as it heads in towards Louisiana, wherever that makes landfall. And then the shear should increase enough, some dry air up here, to hopefully take the legs out from under it right before landfall, which could help to spread the wind out a little bit, not make it quite as fierce, but we'll see. I also say that hope, I borrowed this from a good friend of mine, hope is not a planning tool. You can't just hope this thing away. You have to take action based on the information that I and others are presenting to you. So here's the dashboard All these things are just so amazing these days. Over at the Tropical Tidbits site, click on current storms, and here you go, your satellite picture, your Hurricane Center inset, graphic there, the current position and other observations from ships and oil rigs and who knows what else. But then you've got this, the global and hurricane models. Instead of sitting here and going through the GFS and the Euro and the Icon and the so-and-so, just wasting time, let's just look at this. This is the plot, the spaghetti plot as they call it, of the global models plus the various hurricane models. And the general idea is that this is now shifting east. There's the official forecast right there. But most of the guidance in the last few hours has shifted to the east a little bit. Let me use the color white to separate everything. So perhaps, we'll have to wait and see, it is going to be more east of this. This is Vermilion Bay right here. That's where I'm most concerned because of the shape of it. Looks like a big cup sitting up there, or an upside down bowl. But that doesn't bode well at all for areas farther to the east, including New Orleans, because some of these models do have this going over and very close to the greater New Orleans area, where you obviously have a bigger population area. So we're starting to see the model guidance, what we call the envelope, the whole collection of them, shift to the east gradually with every cycle, every forecast cycle. So keep paying attention to this in southeast Louisiana. And then I'm starting to get a little bit more concerned about our friends in Lake Pontchartrain. We're going to have to watch that very closely. Slidell over towards Frenier, Laplace. We're going to have to see. This is an interesting angle, too, that this is coming in. So, yes, pay attention while you're also getting ready and getting ready. You got to do all of the above. It's stressful. I get it. I know a lot of people down in that area, what you've been through the last many years. I understand how you feel. I really do. And to that end, we're going there. We're going to set up equipment. We're going to be able to watch what happens in real time. This is our interactive tracking map. And I'm going to talk about this for just a minute because it is a powerful tool. If you join up for our service and you help to invest in our future, we try not to, I wish that I could make everything available for free, but I have to have a means of income, and we also have to support the technology to do this, and we do so through Patreon, and then we tie that in to our HurricaneTrack Insider site. You get a username, which is your email address. Once you sign up at Patreon, you pick one of the levels, and the $10 level and up, you have access to everything, and you help to invest in the future, including this interactive map. And this is really, really neat here, and designed by one of our supporters over in the UK. You go, you turn on the cameras, and we don't have any out there for the storm yet. These are our permanent cameras. And just to show you, this is the one on the Outer Banks, what they look like. It's really, really neat. So we're going to be able to do this. This is a permanent camera sitting out on the pier, obviously. We will be able to do that down here in the Gulf Coast area. And if you're familiar with our project, you know what we can do. The work speaks for itself. So where are we going to put them? Well, that is an excellent question. We're trying to figure that out ourselves. So the easy answer is somewhere in here. And that's a lot of real estate. That's a lot of, driving around Louisiana that is not easy. And we don't have just a straight coastline like we do in Mississippi. Mississippi is much easier to deal with. And we have to take into account possibly Lake Pontchartrain. But once the cams are up, they are accessible on this interactive map. We also have our dashboard over here. We've got our own dashboard, speaking of dashboards, where you can see the live cams all set up in a nice thumbnail fashion. Pretty cool stuff here, all supported through our Patreon. You can go to patreon.com, search HurricaneTrack, Hurricane Track, right there. Not ER, it's not Hurricane Tracker. There's a Hurricane Tracker app that is not ours. It's a great app from a different company entirely, but we are HurricaneTrack. That's how you look for the logo. That's our logo. It's what I got on my shirt. And we're going to be setting these up starting later today, and we just got to figure out where, based on this kind of stuff right here, right? I'm wondering about it just like you are. So stay on top of it. Remember, I gave you some good tips there. Let's get everything back in order, nice and tidy here, about where to look for information. And I think your biggest asset I want to push this really hard. Hurricanes with an S.gov or nhc.noaa.gov, local products, and then look at all those little thumbnails down there for the storm information, and it's on you. You got to read it and do it yourself. Read the stuff, look at the graphics, and then ask questions from people that you trust on social media, maybe the hurricane guru in your life. Everybody's got one. Somebody that's a big weather nut, and they follow this stuff very closely, that's not putting out wild and crazy ideas. You know, your gut can tell you, and you know who to talk to and who to trust. And then do something, all right? You guys know you're in Louisiana, and even Mississippi is not completely off the hook here. You've got the experience. Act like you've been there before. And I'll see you real soon. Within the next several hours, I'll be down there getting ready to leave Georgia here in the next little while. All right, so we're going to be live later this afternoon. I don't know exactly what time. So be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for that. You'll get a notification when we do go live, but only if you enable those notifications, so make sure you do that. And then we're going to be live until it is inland. And we're going to be using Starlink to continue that process. Very excited about that. You know, it's always good to be able to go to work and do some interesting things capturing these effects. But again, I know what you guys are going through. Hang in there. And some of you, I'll even see you in person. As I said, I've made some good friends down there, and we're kind of all in this together. Have a good rest of your Tuesday. Thanks for tuning in from all of us at the HurricaneTrack community. I am Mark Sudduth. I'll see you live again later today on YouTube.